only go so far, or
some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out
Oh
in the middle
yeah,
of
that's
nowhere?
what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in time. I was really ticked off when I was having this fit. I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Works with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now, a legend spread across the land about this pistol waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give a Six Gun Joe.
Welcome to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of UFO Undercover. Like Natasha says, I am your host. I hope everyone's having a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are on our beautiful blue planet. I say this every week, guys. It's my favorite thing to come do. I get to talk to 144 countries around the world, all kind of people about a whole range of topics that are running. I sigh. Sorry, guys, talking virtual autonomy. It's just one of my favorite things to do. I come here every week. I've been doing this for 10 years. I think we're on... I think show 500, if I remember correctly. I'll have to actually go see. We're right around there. I might actually be a little over that. So check it out. You know, the archives are free. They're located at paranormalradionetwork.org or upn.org. There's a whole host of addresses and ways to find your way to the archive site. We've also started by special request. We'll do this for a few people. I'm not going to make a habit of this every week, but once or twice a month, I'm reposting popular archives that have been requested by more than a few people, usually a dozen or more. I will go back and post the archive, repost it so it's at the top of the list again, so it's easy to find and for people. Let's post it a few. Some of my archives, some are some other people's archives. I see the show I did with the Church of Mavis Saturday is doing quite well. Brought the archive site down twice this week, which is, of course, now back up. We don't have any problems with that, but that was interesting to see. There's a lot of people going to check out that archive. On the one about Golf Breeze has also been reposted by popular demand, which is nice to get up there. And one of the last Voice of the People done by November Hansen will be reposted this weekend. That's by demand as well. So guys, check them out. They'll be available on the archive site. They'll be up there for quite some time, so you got time to go look at them and check them out and see what's going on. Tonight's guest is going to be Lamont Woodham. I actually was just learning about the gentleman while we were talking prior to the break. And we'll bring on in just a second and have him introduce himself and introduce the new book and tell y'all where you can find it and what we will be discussing. Now, remember, too, after the first hour, the phone lines will be open, 504-273-7379. That's directly into the Skype system, so you can log into us. If you're on my Skype list or you're one of our many friends of the Paranormal Radio Network, you can also join us on Skype and check us out that way as well. And Skype just sent us this new thing about GroupMe, so we're going to probably be adding that to what we're already doing, along with the whole host of archive stations you can find this on. The syndicated stations we're on, and all of our own personal servers. So, guys, you can't say I do make it easy for y'all to listen to the show. Tonight's guest is Lambert Wood. Lambert, why don't you come on? Lamont, why don't you come on and tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Tell them a little bit about the book. Let's tease them at first, and then I want you to tell them about the story we were just talking about when we were coming on. So go ahead, man.
Okay, again, the name is Lamont Wood. I'm a writer living in San Francisco, and the book is called Out of Place in Time and Space, and you can find it on Amazon or in better bookstores. I found myself sitting beside a woman who was a museum curator. So I was asking her, is there a particular way to find a painting somewhere in Europe? That's all I know. She said, no, it's really hard, she said. And so I described the painting to her, and she nodded and went away. And then the next week she sent me an email. She had found it. I intrigued her enough that she went out and found it. So I'm not even the first person to have worked on the book, as it turned out. And the painting I was talking about is one I used in chapter 1. And it's painted in 1460, and it's hanging on the wall of a museum in France. And it's fairly standard church painting. It shows the Madonna with the Christ child on her lap. And for centuries, it probably hung there, and no one paid much attention to it. But nowadays, our attention is kind of drawn to what the Christ child is doing, because he's depicted as playing with a pull-string toy helicopter. Now, that's pretty weird considering it was painted in 1460. Now, people will tell you, oh, Leonardo da Vinci, he sketched that helicopter one time. He was 8 years old when the thing was painted, and he had nothing to do with it. His conception of the helicopter worked. There was no way on it to, it shows a passenger, but there was no way on it to dampen the torque, so the body would have spun one direction, and the blades would have spun another. This again, it's just a flying toy. You pull the string, and this stick with the spinning blades on the top would have sprung up and flown away. But that's sort of another theme I noted when I was researching the book. I have like 42 examples of these things in the book. And what I keep noticing is that children's toys are too frivolous for serious attention. And here we had a flying machine in the Middle Ages, and the fact that they're including it in this painting just means the artist says, this is a toy. I have put it in the hands of this individual to show that he is a child, because the way they depicted people back then, there's no difference. I also discovered, like, for instance, the Greeks and Romans had steam-powered toys, and it never occurred to them to use them for serious work. And of course, we've all heard the stories of the tombs in Central America or South America, where they find wheeled toys in tombs of cultures that did not themselves use a wheeled transport. So instead of sitting here saying, gosh, they were stupid, I think probably it'd be better to sit here and say, what are the kids doing now that we should be paying attention to? Are we still here? Something happened here in the background. Hello?
Yeah, okay, I thought I lost you there for a second. Can you hear me okay, Lamont?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. That was weird. Just for a second there, it was like there was a hiccup or real quiet.
Okay.
That was kind of strange. Yeah. No, but I was thinking when you were talking about Leonardo and
in a helicopter. Not many people realize that when they look at the drawing that the person was on one way helicopter, because they're just looking at the drawing, they're not looking at anything else.
Right.
They say, well, it looks like a helicopter. Well, yeah, it does. But it's looking like, I mean, I can draw if it looks like a helicopter. I couldn't, you know.
Yeah.
Hell, I was in avionics electronics. I'm still a hard time telling you how the damn thing works. So go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Good.
Okay, but like I'm saying, it's a theme I keep seeing over and over again, that children's stories are apparently too frivolous for study, but they're sometimes doing amazing things out there. And maybe we should pay more attention. Like I said, Greeks and Romans had steam-powered toys, but never apparently considered using them for serious work. And of course, like I said, in Central America, we find wheeled toys in tombs of cultures that did not themselves use wheeled transport, though that's probably because they didn't have decent roads and draft animals. They didn't have horses. Mm-hmm. So anyway, having this example, I got some other examples together and began looking for what I call a high concept to pull all this together. And the high concept, they came up with what I call the reverse anachronism. Now, standard anachronism is like when you go to the movies, and the movie is about Rome, but they're speaking English. You're not speaking Latin. But that's okay with you because you don't know Latin anyway. But that's really an anachronism because these people are portrayed with something that's out of their time. They're supposed to be Romans, but they're speaking English. Okay, but that, like I say, that's a matter of portrayal, how they're portrayed. And it's not really threatening or there's nothing controversial about it. My concept of reverse anachronism is that it's something from the present that we find in the past, either belief, information, practices, or an actual object in some cases. Now, if we have reverse anachronisms like that, it would stand to reason that there must be reverse anachronisms in the future that are here in the present. And presumably they're noise and we don't understand them. And so it's hard to identify them. But there is an excellent example that showed up while I was researching the book called the Antikythera mechanism. It was this thing found in the seabed off the Greek island of Antikythera, hence the name, in 1901. And at the time, it was presumed to be just a jumble of corroded bronze gears. Are we there again? I heard something weird going on in the background. You still there?
Yeah, no, that was I actually had to turn that line. I thought it was somebody calling, and I just.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. That was I'd say. But in 1901, they thought it was a mass of corroded bronze gears. Okay, after 100 years of studying it, we now know what it is because it's now sort of like coming to think of our present. It was an ancient Roman computer, basically. Now in the computer age, we can see that. And it's not a computer in the digital programmable sense, but the a computer where the programming is built into the design, like the old artillery fire control computers, et cetera. And in this case, it was a device for synchronizing or reconciling the lunar calendar with solar calendar, which you still do nowadays. I mean, they set Easter based on the lunar calendar. Then we say, well, it's going to be April so-and-so, which is in solar calendar. So actually, we still do that. And it did some other things as well and track various planetary positions. Modern reconstruction shows it was using what they call epicyclic gears. If you have a car with an automatic transmission, there are epicyclic gears in there. And previously, they were assumed to have been invented during the Industrial Revolution. But they show up in a device that it was around in Julius Caesar's lifetime. That the ship it was on probably sank in about 65 BC. How it could have done that, we don't know. But obviously, it represented generations of accumulated knowledge and skill. Yeah, both in the creation of intricate geared mechanisms and in tracking planetary motion. I mean, someone didn't throw that together just for ship sailing, I guarantee.
No, well, we know we lost a lot of knowledge between the burning of Alexandria and a few other things that went on. Plus whatever was lost in some of the other places that were completely annihilated in time and space. So there's a lot. But you see, ancient history to me, because I do things and I tell people all the time, especially the fields we work in, you should always start in the past and work your way forward. Because frankly, I find the past, there's stuff that just is out of place. I'm looking at 100% of this. It just doesn't belong there. And you think it. Okay, and I don't want to take away from man because, man's smarter than we look in a lot of areas. And we do learn things through repetition or many ways. But then if it's not kept a good record of, we lose it. And people don't realize, like today, everything now is going digital, and within 100 years, everything will be digital. If there's ever a great electronic wave or some kind of great war, we'll probably lose 90% of what we have.
Oh, it's already in danger, even without that. They call it the digital dark age, because the hardware and the software both become obsolete so fast. And the files you have today, you may not be able to read them in 10 years.
That's true, because I run into that problem.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people worried about this.
No, they should be.
But anyway, but you're in the construction business, so one of the other reverse anachronisms I discovered that would probably interest you would be cement and concrete. Officially, concrete can be traced back to a British patent issued in 1799, and it's soon to be part and parcel of the Industrial Revolution and the accumulation of capital that demanded large construction at a fast time frame, and so you needed concrete because you couldn't depend on quarried dimension stones, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all true. But then you go to Rome, and you find these buildings that are made out of concrete. It's weird, considering it was invented in 1799. The Pantheon, for instance, in the middle of Rome, is the largest freestanding concrete vaulted structure. It's I forget what you call it. It's like it's a big dome. It's a dome, basically. Freestanding concrete dome. And it was built about 120 AD. We're not sure why. We're not sure how they built it, obviously out of concrete, but we don't know how they got the skill to do that. We're not sure why they built it. It's not really a temple. People refer to it as a temple, but the design of it does not allow for any pagan Roman worship. So we really don't know why they built it. There's a sign on the front that says it was built by a certain person, but we know that the person they're referring to had been dead for about 100 years when they built it. So it just gets weirder and weirder. But that's not unusual of ancient buildings. We often do not know much about them, or as much as we think we do when we actually look into it.
Well, I always found the concrete thing interesting because the very first time I read about it was, 28 years ago.
Yeah.
And then about 10 years after that, I seen a special not only on the concrete of Rome, but come to find out not only did Roman make concrete, but they made concrete that could harden underwater.
Absolutely.
Which was a very good step all the way across the board. And I always thought it was an interesting thing because it was a very advanced concept for the time period that it was. They seem to do it, and they seem to use it quite a lot throughout several areas, and not